The rotors were already screaming when Elena Voss stepped out onto the rooftop of Voss Tower, 48 stories above downtown Chicago. Wind whipped her platinum blonde hair across her face as she stared at the sleek black Bell 505 hovering 10 feet off the helipad, its skids kissing the painted H like it was born there. The man holding the cyclic wasn't the on-call pilot. He was wearing the same Navy janitor's jumpsuit she'd seen him in every night for 3 years, the one with Mike stitched in faded red thread over the heart. Except now the sleeves were rolled high, revealing forearms corded with the kind of muscle you don't get pushing a mop. His noise-canceling headset was pushed up on his forehead, and he was looking straight at her with those quiet hazel eyes that had always seemed too calm for a guy who emptied her trash at 2 a.m. "Fly this helicopter and I'll marry you," she had laughed 6 months ago, half drunk on champagne and exhaustion after the board tried to force her out of the company her grandfather built. It had been a joke. A reckless, throwaway line hissed into the empty executive bathroom while the man on the other side of the stall door quietly replaced the paper towels. She never thought he heard her. She never thought he'd take it seriously. Yet here he was, left hand on the collective, right hand beckoning her with 2 fingers like this was the most natural thing in the world. Elena's Louboutins clicked across the concrete as the downtown lights blurred behind tears she refused to let fall. The laughter from 6 months ago now tasted like ash in her throat. Mike's voice crackled through the external speaker, low and steady. "Doors open, Miss Voss. Clock's ticking." She climbed in. The moment the latch clicked, the helicopter lifted smooth as silk, downtown tilting away beneath them like someone had pulled the plug on the world. Lake Michigan glittered black and endless under the August moon. Elena gripped the edge of the leather seat. "Put it down, Mike. Right now. This isn't funny." He banked gently north, the Willis Tower sliding past the window like a postcard. "Never said it was funny. You're the janitor. Night shift. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Pays the insurance. You can't just..." She gestured wildly at the cockpit. "Where the hell did you learn to fly?" He glanced sideways, the faintest smile touching his mouth. "Same place I learned to keep my mouth shut when CEOs cry in bathroom stalls at 3 in the morning." Her breath caught. He had heard her. Mike eased the collective down. The helicopter settled into a low orbit over the lake, the thrum of the engine matching her heartbeat. City lights reflected in his eyes when he finally spoke again. "Name's not actually Mike, either. It's Captain Michael R. Caldwell, U.S. Army, retired. 160th SOAR. Night Stalkers." The words hit her like cold water. He reached into the pocket of the jumpsuit and pulled out a folded set of orders, the paper soft from being carried too long. He didn't hand it to her. He just let it rest on the glare shield where she could see the header, "Honorable Discharge, Medical." "I got shot down outside Kandahar 4 years ago," he said quietly. "Took shrapnel in the spine. Docs said I'd never walk again, let alone fly. VA waitlist was 18 months. Insurance denied the experimental surgery. So I took the night job. Figured pushing a mop beat pushing morphine." Elena stared at the crease lines in the paper, the official stamp, the Purple Heart citation clipped to the corner. "Why didn't you tell me?" Her voice cracked. "Because you were drowning, Elena. And sometimes people need to drown a little before they remember how to swim." He looked at her fully now, no guards up. "You spent 3 years treating the janitor like he was invisible. Then one night you looked at me, really looked, and said the truest thing I ever heard you say. If someone could just fly me out of this life, I'd marry them tomorrow." She swallowed hard. It was hyperbole, was it? The helicopter drifted lower, skimming so close to the water she could see moonlight ripple across the surface. "Because I've spent 6 months fixing myself so I could keep a promise I never should have made you say out loud." He flipped a switch. The cabin lights dimmed to red. From the back seat he pulled a small velvet box, set it on the cyclic between them like it belonged there. "Elena Marie Voss," he said, voice rough with everything he'd never told another soul, "I can fly this helicopter. Question is, are you brave enough to land with me?" Her hand shook as she opened the box. Inside was a simple platinum band holding a single diamond that caught every star over Lake Michigan and threw it back twice as bright. She looked from the ring to the man who'd quietly cleaned her office, refilled her coffee, left fresh flowers on the worst days without ever asking for credit. The man who had rebuilt his shattered body in basement gyms and VA hallways while she signed contracts worth hundreds of millions and still went home to an empty penthouse that echoed. Tears finally won. Yes, she whispered. Then louder, against the roar of the engine and the roar in her chest. God, yes. He banked the helicopter west, toward the dark stretch of Indiana shoreline where a single set of landing lights glowed on a private strip nobody knew existed. The city fell away behind them, 48 stories of steel and ambition shrinking until it was just a pretty necklace of light she no longer needed. As the wheels kissed grass and the rotors spooled down into silence, Elena realized the joke had never been on him. It had been on her, for thinking love looked like private jets and corner offices instead of calloused hands that knew how to hold both a cyclic and a broken heart steady. Michael, unbuckled, turned to her in the sudden quiet. Still want to marry me, Miss Voss? She laughed through the tears, climbed across the console, and kissed him like the world was ending and beginning in the same breath. Take me home, Captain, she said against his mouth. Wherever that is now. He smiled, the first full one she'd ever seen from him, and it lit the cockpit brighter than Chicago ever could. Already there, ma'am, and somewhere high above the lake, the helicopter sat cooling under the stars, rotors still, while inside, two people who'd spent years being invisible to everyone else finally saw each other clear as day. The janitor and the CEO. The soldier and the heiress. Just a man and a woman keeping the wildest promise either of them had ever made. And that was the night Elena Voss learned the most terrifying and beautiful truth of her life. Sometimes the person who empties your trash is the same one destined to fill your sky.